Zealand, have you ever done toe spacers? They're amazing.
Toe spacers.
Yeah. Are your
No.
toes like super crumbled up in your running shoes for 22 miles?
Oh, that sounds actually really nice. I have.
But not during the run, obviously. Now. I'm having them in
Yeah.
now.
No, I have a balance board under my desk, so I'm like
Okay.
constantly balancing. I don't know.
All right.
It keeps my mind occupied. But no, I've got some under desk game, but apparently not the top level.
Toe spacers they're like $9 off Amazon, and they are relaxing my feet so much. It's incredible.
Welcome back to the Player Manager Podcast. I'm Zealand Shannon, the fake manager, here with a very real player, at least I think. Maybe this is just some sort of elaborate con to fool me. But Julian Gressel, he's also here. How was your weekend playing real football, Julian?
It was okay. Could have been better, to be honest with you. But we'll get into that a little bit later, I think, right? But yeah, could have been better.
Yeah, no, the draw streak continuing, but the details are forthcoming. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the YouTube channel, by the way. Everyone getting into the comments. Get in there and let us know what you think of the show. A few good ones from last episode on YouTube, and we're kind of starting up something new here. Right at the top of the show, we're going to answer one of those comments that came from YouTube, from a user, Ream Urshid. So apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Said, what perfume brand does Messi use? That's what's kicking us off today. And I'm very curious to know, because I would love to smell like the GOAT.
I mean, that is the multi-million-dollar question, right? I have absolutely no idea. I am so sorry to disappoint. I will try and keep an eye out over the next few weeks to see what it is, but I would not be surprised with all the things that Leo has started ever since he came to the US and ever since he came to Miami. If that's a sports drink, if that's now a production company, and all the other ventures that he's going into, that a fragrance line or perfume line is maybe on the docket at some point, I feel like.
I would be surprised if he doesn't have one already, because I feel like if you're Lionel Messi, you're in this position, and anything that you do or anything, if you pop up at a McDonald's drive-through, McDonald's stock price is going to go up 5%, right? Like, if somebody actually manages to find out the answer to Reem Rashid's question, like what perfume or what fragrance is Messi using, that fragrance is going to become 5 times as popular overnight. So why not make it the Messi fragrance?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Messi aura or the Messi aroma or whatever, something like that. I mean, would you buy it? Would you buy it?
Would I buy it? I wouldn't publicly admit that I bought it, but I'd probably buy it. But that is the name. You just came up with it. He should hire you as a brand consultant. The name is Aura by Messi.
Yeah, there you go. Not bad.
I can see the commercial now. Just a bunch of models on a boat.
More than just the smell. See, I even got the marketing slogan. Look at that, dude.
He scores, turns around, and then the person he just scored on smells him and is like, oh, wow. Well, I mean, we should clip this and send it to him personally. I think we're on to something. There's another comment. We just haven't gotten to it yet. We're supposed to whip through this really quickly, but we're stuck on Aura by Messi and designing the commercial. So this is from Mason Mount 17.
So the real Mason Mount?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, he follows us on YouTube.
What's up, Mason?
Yeah. Hope you're feeling okay. I think he got hurt again this weekend. Feel bad. Sorry, Mason. But fortunately, you're starting to feel better because he was listening to our podcast, and he said it would be criminal if we don't get Dax back on the podcast. Loved this episode, boys. So huge thank you to Dax McCarty for coming on to the podcast. We had a great time. Genuinely, just I love all of our guests, but he was very fun to have on.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorites so far. And maybe that's just because he can kind of talk about whatever since he's retiring and is not have to worry about any repercussions later on. But no, Dax has been great. And yeah, maybe down the line he'll come back.
I felt like I was watching you talk to your older brother in some ways. Like it really did. It felt like he's one of those people that becomes a mentor for other players that spend time in MLS and make a real serious go at being in MLS, starting at multiple teams the way that you have. How does that even happen? Because if you played with the Dax,
I've not played with him. No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I want to say he's part of this generation, this almost last generation of guys that have been in this league for so long that have kind of known it from the old days where guys would make $20K a year, and go coach or go have a second job on the side. 19 years in MLS. That's a long time. I mean, this league is how old now? It's not even 30 years old. So like it's an insane amount of time to be spending here and to be part of something that has grown so much over the years. So he's really seen all of it. And that's what intrigues me about those type of guys. And I've had some of those guys with me in Atlanta that I'm still in touch with every day. Talk about a guy like Michael Parkhurst. He had a stint in Europe, but he started, in MLS as well, and then came back when we were in Atlanta. And I'm texting with him now because he lives in Columbus, and I'm going to see him in 2 days, for example. So
Nice.
like those types of connections and those types of stories, I just love to hear because it shows you how far this league has come, where this league was only a few years ago, and for me, it shows me how much the league can still grow and how much leeway there is to really go to the next level. And you can't really forget about the past in that sense. And Dax really represents that well, and not just on a personal level for me. Obviously, we've talked about it on the episode about durability, playing so many games, playing 19 seasons, like it's insane. And if I come close to that, I'd be so proud and happy to do that, and that's why I try and learn and take away from guys like him as much as I can.
I mean, I was doing the math while you were talking there. So he started in 2005. And that also means that Dax McCarty has been in MLS 66% of all MLS seasons in the history of the league. He's
insane.
played in the league.
Yeah.
And obviously the number of teams that have been added to the league since 2005. I mean, you think about how, he was in DC United, Chicago Fire, New York Red Bulls. That were all like, he joined. I made a whole history of the MLS video at one point. Sorry, history of MLS video. I don't want to get caught saying the MLS because then they're going to take me out back and smash my kneecaps in again. But he in 2001, 2002, the league almost folded. So basically, since MLS came off life support, Dax McCarty's been in the league watching it grow. It's just wild to think about. And obviously, we wish him a happy retirement so that he can eventually become a regular on this podcast. But the delaying tactics have run out. It's time for us to announce who is going to win that Julian Gressel kit we've been teasing with for multiple weeks. If you subscribed and commented on episode 23, now is the moment you've been waiting for. The lucky winner is... assuming there's going to be a drum roll or something. Adrian Lucero, you are the winner of the Julian Gressel Archive Kit Podcast Match Worn.
Congrats.
Kit, Adrian Lucero, the winner of the giveaway. I mean, anything special to say for Adrian, Julian? You're giving him your shirt.
Congratulations. I hope it's not an international shipment so that it doesn't cost as much. No, I'm just kidding. But I will get it signed however you like. So if you let us know if you want it personalized to you or just a regular signature or to your son or daughter or whatever, then or mom, let us know. Let me know, and I'll send it out as soon as I can, and then hopefully you get it quickly. But congrats.
And the comment that won it for Adrian Lucero. There were a lot of fabulous comments, so it was hard to pick, kind of picked almost at random like any good giveaway, but it was a lovely comment. Been a Messi fan, but became a Julian supporter with this podcast. Would love to win an American Tony Cruz shirt. Well, Adrian, you've now won an American Tony Cruz shirt. Technically, he's the only Tony Cruz left. I mean, the original Tony Cruz is now retired. He's the only one we've got left. But yes, the shirt is on its way. We'll have another giveaway coming soon. Details on that at the end of the show. So don't worry. We've got fun stuff for you guys the whole time, and also fun stuff on this podcast because, of course, we're going to talk about Inter Miami's comeback against Charlotte. We're going to talk about Pulisic being on fire in Italy. Jose Mourinho's up to his old tricks in Turkey, and there's plenty more. But first, we're going to talk about something I experienced today. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. I went to the New York Derby on Saturday in New Jersey, which was my first time going to the New York Derby in New Jersey. I'd never been to a New York Red Bulls game before, and it was interesting. I don't. So I was invited by a friend. He had extra tickets, and it was one of those last second. Yeah, sure, I'll go. It took an hour and a half to get there. Now I'm spoiled, because I live in New York, and I'm used to walking and taking subways to places. But the New Jersey trip is an hour and a half on these weird subways called path trains, and it was jarring to get there. And I'm just weirded out by the fact that they're able to call themselves New York teams because it is so genuinely far away. I realize this is an argument that you could have absolutely no place in as somebody that just has no connections to New York at all. But I realize in saying that there's going to be some New York Red Bulls fans who are like, well, hold on a second. I don't mean to offend those people. I'm bringing that outside perspective. But it was a fun experience, not for Red Bulls because they lost bad. I don't know if you saw this score, but it was 5 or 6 to 1. I think it was 5-1.
It's time they play the game like a derby. Here's a really early opening. This is Alonso Martinez. Goal! Here's Gray. Lovely inviting ball in Pereira. Poignantly now into O'Toole. Across goal he goes. The effort towards goal again. It's 4. With the ball across goal. Morales. And still Morales. And Gray!
And it was, which was great for my friend because he had over 3.5 goals, and that hit very early.
Nice.
Yeah, he was very at ease. That hit about 35 minutes into the game. But what goes into losing a derby match at home like that? Because those are both playoff teams. I mean, obviously, as you probably know if you're listening to this podcast, right? Those are two teams that are checking in still with the loss in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference. Like you lose a derby at home 5-1, a big match. Let's say you're playing Hell is Real or you're playing Orlando City now and you lose at home 5-1. That's
it's a tough one as well. Yeah, that one hurts a little bit more for sure. But I think didn't they qualify? I think with that loss they qualified for the playoffs. So that it kind of I guess makes up for it a little bit. But no, I think these games, they mean a little bit more to the supporters. And I feel like especially to the Red Bulls, just because they always get teased with this New Jersey stuff, just like you did just now. Like it's something that
I am a part of the problem. I'm sorry,
so
New Jersey.
You're teasing it a little bit, and all the other the New York City fans, letting them hear that maybe as well. And it's just kind of I don't know, just annoying to them in a sense. Where now on top of it, you get absolutely beat down, 5-1 at home in front of your fans. And it's just, a tough day. I could see how that hurts. And I could see how that is something that you don't want to be a part of, but I go back to, for example, the game we had against Cincy, right? Our biggest rivals up to that point this year, where we went there and we absolutely got killed as well. Where I think it was 5-1 or something as well. So I've certainly been on the receiving end of some of those results, and then they never feel good, no matter if it's against your rival or against anybody, because it just shows you that on that day, the other team was that much better. And I don't believe New York City is that much better than the Red Bulls, but I guess congrats to them for making the MLS Cup playoffs for a record-setting league record 15 straight postseason appearance. That is an insane stat. I don't think they've ever won a trophy with that, which is also interesting as well. Yeah, but you gotta qualify to make it at least, and they've done that for a lot of years, and that's a good thing.
I think maybe that was that you mentioned that. It was probably really sad because the rivalry and everything, but it was also they had a firework night that night, and so you were supposed to stay for after
there
the
were
game
fireworks.
Fireworks,
yeah.
The fireworks. They're on the field, but it was raining in the fireworks, and the one of the trains had gotten canceled. It was probably one of the most miserable nights you could have if you were a New York Red Bulls fan, and definitely not the best situation for me to take in my first New York Red Bulls match.
Well, are you a fan of either of those teams or no?
No. I made a video about NYCFC, so I am friends of a couple of the people that run the fan groups there, and they were texting me because they put my friend up on the big board, and I was kind of standing next to him going like this. And so they were texting me, "Oh, we saw you at the game," But I try to always maintain a good amount of objectivity in these situations.
Nice.
The fireworks night definitely felt like it was rubbing salt in the wound. But I will say the stadium is actually
it's
gorgeous.
Amazing. Yeah,
that's one of the best soccer-specific stadiums in the United States, which ties in kind of this other point that New York Red Bulls is also a team that at times has struggled to get support in the stands. And so to some extent, it does feel like, I don't want to say the stadium's wasted, but I'm just like, where the, what's the movie? Field of Dreams. It's the baseball movie. Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Well, they've built this fabulous, beautiful stadium and this very sustainable team, but it's been around forever too. I remember playing as New York Red Bulls with Josie Altidore when I was a kid on FIFA, but it just doesn't seem to have kind of stuck. And it's this weird thing in MLS where a lot of the teams have these great, really supportive fan bases, but there are just a couple of these teams where, unless it's a particularly big game and a particularly big night, they aren't really drawing to the same level. And I was talking to people on stream maybe, and I see you've got kind of the puzzled look on your face about this sort of thing too, but I don't really know what the solution is to that. You know, I don't, and I guess this is a great reason why I have no idea. Like I'm not in the position of leading MLS or one of these teams because, I mean, the team's been good. The stadium's beautiful.
Yeah, it's has the team been that good or that exciting though, that you would really want to go every weekend to go watch them and go ride the subway for an hour or a little bit less, whatever. Like, you know, it probably goes back to kind of the Red Bull system a little bit, right? Where
it might be tied to it might be tied to Red Bull. I know they're enemies in Germany as well. I mean, so there's a tie-in here. That whole Rasenballsport Leipzig deal that they've got going is
exactly. No, but I rather mean more like the players and more like the developmental of players for Red Bull Leipzig, right? Or Rasenballsport Leipzig, where like the best guys like aren't at the Red Bulls. They're going to Europe. They're going to Salzburg or to Leipzig and not really staying in New York, where if you have, I don't know, a couple of really big signings, like, I don't know, Atlanta, for example, started or here in Miami, right? Like there's so many exciting players that you buy for 10, 15, 20 million that then, you know, come into your team. While I feel like at the Red Bulls, that never really has happened. They rather sign a young guy for less that they can develop and then sell to their clubs in Europe. So it's not really, I feel like, their main focus of attracting that type of fan, right? Like it's okay for them to kind of scrape by in a sense and get into the playoffs, but not really ever like push the envelope to the absolute max, where they know that they have bigger goals with the bigger clubs in Europe. And if, you know, John Tolkien, for example, if he plays an unbelievable season or two, like he won't stay in New York. He'll go overseas, you know, and which is great, which is, you know, just their philosophy as a club. So it's just a little bit different, I think. And that's kind of more so what I want to say in terms of the system that they're in, or the Red Bull system that they're in.
I love Tolkien. I coached the U.S. to a quarterfinal of the World Cup on Football Manager with John Tolkien starting at left back.
Yeah,
so in spite of his bleach blonde hair, he also looked like one of the better players, which is hard to say. You know, when I was there, even though they lost at 5-1. That makes sense. And I'll give the fans credit. The ones that were there, they had their kind of packed ultras section. They had a pre-prepared banner that they unfurled after the team was behind 5-1 that just said, not good enough. And I've heard the game at NYFC for the Hudson River Derby, no Red Bulls fans went as a protest sign. Well, at least that's the way it was relayed to me. They did not go as a form of protest against the ownership. So there's also, I think, maybe a contributing factor to not being able to fill that gorgeous stadium is this kind of friction and this understand, you know, it's such an important part about having a club is even if the club's not doing well, there need to be good vibes. There needs to be a belief that things are going to get better. And the clubs that struggle, and maybe the ones that struggle in MLS to draw crowds, are the ones that aren't able to create that good vibe. Because I mean, even this sounds stupid, but even when Orlando City, I feel like, was in last place in the league or whatever, there was a good vibe around Orlando City, right? I would still go with my dad to a game every once in a while, and it was cool. You know, it was there was energy and happiness, and almost nobody. I mean, you care if you're like the team's losing, but there was a belief it was going to get better later, and we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Red Bulls, because it does feel like we're slowly building towards some sort of conclusion with. Things are not going to stay the same and sustain forever.
Yeah, we'll see how it continues. But why is it that when they play in New York, it's called Hudson River Derby, and when they play in New Jersey, it's not called that. Is that a thing, or
Is it not?
I don't know, because you mentioned it, the New York Derby in the beginning, and now the Hudson River Derby. So I was a little bit confused. Is it? It's always the
Oh
same,
no,
right?
it's a Hudson River Derby.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Colloquial.
Oh, that's what I thought.
No, you've got me here. No, this is like saying the MLS. Yeah, it is. It is the New York Derby, the official name being the Hudson River Derby, which NYCFC has won this time around. There's a trophy and everything. They get to celebrate with it on the field and under the fireworks, of course. I'm sure it all didn't go exactly how New York Red Bulls was planning, but it was a fun night out, and we both got to spend a night at an MLS field this weekend. Yours, you happen to be on it, of course. Your game against Charlotte. You continued a bit of an unfortunate streak of draws, but since you're a TV commentator now, I'm going to put you to the test. What was your post-game analysis on this one? 45 seconds. Julian Gressel, what happened in Inter Miami against Charlotte?
I don't need 45 seconds for that one. That one is just frustrating. We start okay. We have enough chances to win the game. We don't score, and then we concede a stupid goal, and then we end up tying the game in a frustrating way, and that's kind of been the theme over the last 2-3 games, and that's something that we need to fix before the playoffs. Simple as that.
Wow,
that was 25 seconds.
Yeah, that was seconds. Oh man, that was barely 30 seconds. I had a timer. That was barely 30 seconds. I clocked that at 29.01. Okay. You're ready for the but that's actually not good enough. We need 16 seconds of filler. Do you have that for us?
Yeah, sure. But no, like I said, I think it's just a frustrating way, and then vibes were not great in the locker room afterwards. I was certainly not feeling great about it, and guys are upset, and maybe that's something that we can wake up and kind of see how we can get through it.
Perfect. Well, I mean, over by 2 seconds, but we can always work with that. It's live TV.
Well, you didn't give me the 3, 2. Usually you get the cues.
No, I'm a terrible producer. I'm sorry. I should have. But you mentioned the frustrating equalizer. It was messy. And this goal, of course, I saw all over my timelines, plural.
Now, one thing that will be gone is the points record if this scoreline says the same. That won't be possible. Lionel Messi, with anything is possible. Lionel Messi.
Just another striped effort into the bottom corner. And then he hit the Iron Man celebration. Did you teach him that? Or he's working his way through Marvel, I think?
I think he is. Yeah, I think it's something with his kids that when he looks over, maybe they just watched. Maybe they always have a movie day before the game or something, and that was the movie on the docket, and or his son just tells him. I don't know, but it's something I've noticed certainly. But he doesn't really speak about it or talk to us about it.
And does it get boring watching Messi score goals like that? His 15th goal of the season, by the way, and he missed almost 2 months.
Yeah, it's incredible. But no, it doesn't get boring ever. I mean, these goals are just they come so easy. It seems like and that's the thing that strikes me so much. Where he it's like the ball comes to him, he takes a great touch, does a little shot fake, takes another touch, and then just boom. It's just like automatic almost, and that's something that. When you see him do it in training over and over again, it's like you really, really you're really in awe all this time, and then you see him do it in a game, and it's incredible. It's just the best in the world at finishing those types of plays, and it's doesn't get old, especially when he's your teammate and he scores for you.
Leo, just keep doing that. I'm curious about training. So you say he just does that sort of thing over and over. This was a bit of a weird play where he scores against Charlotte. It comes to him 20, 25 yards out, and he steps into it, and there's really nobody near him. I don't know how Charlotte managed to miss the best player of all time, but they just weren't really near him. And that kind of open shot from the edge of the box, how many out of 10 is Messi putting right in the corner, just in training?
Probably 9. Maybe 1 hits the post.
So this is This is a free throw in basketball that he's hitting there from 20 yards out, basically.
I mean, it's him being able to control the touch easily without having pressure in his face, then taking another touch to get it by the defender, and then having it perfectly laid there on his left foot with a perfect angle to strike it into the near post there. as drawn up as you want it to be for him, right? Like there's nobody coming into his shot lane like that is blocking that left-footed strike. It's the defenders on the other side of him where, you know, he can curl it around like no problem, and it's just about finding the post, and he's so good at aiming at that post and then just having that little curl that will turn into towards goal.
So are we accidentally exposing your set piece plays to get Messi the ball uninhibited on the edge of the box?
Well, it worked. Right, we scored. That's the point of set piece plays. But it wasn't. That actually, it was not a play for this weekend, because it was different, because I was part of usually all of the set piece plays and I was out of the game already at this point. So it was Busquets who kind of took my spot there in that area, and it was kind of just more off the cuff. So it wasn't a set play. It was just the logical play, you know, give the ball to Alba, plays to Busquets to Cello, and then Cello to Leo because he's open. Like, yeah, you give him the ball when he's open. That's the logical set play every time.
I feel like any set piece play should involve Messi getting the ball if he's open. So it's not really... Yeah, we're not unveiling Tata Martino's secret sauce here. But there was something after the game, somebody that we've had on the podcast already. You were some photos at least came out of you and Tim Ream.
We haven't had him on the podcast yet.
We haven't had Tim Ream on the pod? Oh my God, I'm thinking of Walker Zimmerman. That's terrible. The other man bun. Oh.
It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. You know, we'll get him on the podcast soon though. I'll tease that.
So what we're going to do is we'll just delay the podcast, this one, until after Tim Reams hopefully come on, because you were talking with him. Okay. So then it'll all make sense. Then we can just cut this part out. It'll be perfect.
Okay, great. That's a big editing job there, but no, yeah, I spoke with Tim after the game. Welcomed him to MLS, first of all. He said it's exactly where he wants to be. That he's excited to be part of the team in Charlotte. And we know each other a little bit through our agent. So we have the same agency. And I've unfortunately never been a part of, you know, his team at the U.S. national team camp. But with that, you know of each other more, and then you start talking, and then you kind of get to know each other pretty quickly. So we'll get him on the podcast. He said he would jump on at some point. He's still trying to settle in Charlotte a little bit. Obviously, the national team roster is coming out. I think for the next window, he's hoping to be a part of it. But he said he's happy to be here. And then we just talked about him playing left back, which is a pretty interesting position for him. But he's doing a good job. And we'll ask him more about that, I guess, when he jumps on, right?
Yeah, we will. I'll definitely bring that up first, because there have been times before I even made YouTube videos where I was watching Tim Ream play on the left side for the U.S. national team, and there were expletives flying towards my TV. But Tim Ream seriously went from a player that when I saw him called up to the U.S. national team and when I watched him play for the U.S., I was bothered and like upset. He went from that to, at the most recent World Cup, being the defender I trust the most on the entire team, which made no sense to me, but it always blew my mind. And I will eternally be grateful for what Tim Ream has done. I'll be sure to tell him that. I'm sure he'd love to hear that when I was watching players run against him 10 years ago, I was terrified. But then, last year I felt great about it.
Nice. Well, like I said, we'll get him on, and then you can tell him all these things.
Well, I need to get one of those shirts, like the guy we had on the podcast. I'm sorry, Julian, or whatever. I get an "I'm sorry, Tim" shirt, even though I never said any of that stuff public. This is literally before. That's how long he's been around. This is before I started making YouTube videos. Paul Pogba was also at the game. He was, of course, he's been suspended for testing positive for performance enhancing drugs. I think he's suspended for 4 years. But did you get a chance to meet him?
No, I didn't even know he was there. Oh, sorry. No, I mean it's funny because like. Some days I go up to our head of security before and ask him, "Hey, anybody big here?" And I feel like never really anybody that interests me has been there. But this time I didn't, and I honestly, I just didn't see anybody after. And after the game, you talk to Tim Ream. I go over to see my family, and my agent was at the game, so I went to go see him, and then I pretty quickly went inside, not really thinking about anything else because of the way the game went. And when you're kind of upset like that, you're trying to just I don't know. I just try to, see the people that I need to see, get showered. Actually did an ice bath because we play again Wednesday. So trying to recover immediately and then, get some food in you and head out. So it wasn't really much time for me to be super friendly and fancy on the field and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, if on the other side of that, if you did actually end up talking to Paul Pogba, I hear he's got the hookup for something you might be able to inject that could help you get ready for Wednesday a little faster. That'd be.
It's actually funny because I did play with his brother on one team in Atlanta.
Oh, Lionel Pogba.
Florentine Pogba.
Oh, Florentine Pogba. Well, who am I thinking of?
Lionel Messi? Lionel Pogba? No. Yeah, Flo. He was a character. Let's just say that. We'll leave it at that.
So two things. Sorry, my brain is just, this is the corner of the world that I love the most. But my brain's just spitting out all of this possible stuff that it can throw out. So one, Florentine Pogba, I'm pretty sure plays for the Guinean national team, which is beyond awesome. Yeah. And that's super cool that you also played with him. But there is Lionel Zuma, who is Kurt Zuma's brother, who plays for some random country in Central Africa that I can't think of and is going to bother me forever. But there are two different players that have brothers that play for different countries. And you played with the other one, Florentine Pogba, who's a central defender, right?
Yeah, left-footed. Yeah, he was like I said. I'll leave it at the word character. That's about it.
It runs in the family. That doesn't surprise me at all. Sorry. Every time if you tap into my obscure international football knowledge, I basically have a stroke. It just takes me a minute or two to reset and kind of sort out all of my thoughts again. But that's what was happening. Guinean national team player. Florentine Pogba. Yeah. How do you end up with a name like Paul when your brother's name is Florentine, by the way? I feel like one guy lucked out with all the flair.
That's a question for somebody else, but not me. I'll let Zealand during Zealandism explore that one, maybe.
I like the way you pronounce Zealandism. That's perfect.
Thank you. You should have me in it.
I guess I can just have you do one. That would be very on brand for. So Zealandism is my second YouTube channel. And on it, I just rant about random stuff, which is great practice for this podcast, actually. And it is the whole thing's kind of a meme. So it would be something we could totally pull off where you just make one of the videos and it's just you. And there's never any explanation for it. And nobody has any idea. You just do one video where you talk about whatever you want to talk about. And then it just goes right back to me for the next video. And that would just be it. That's YouTubing right there. That's a promotion for this podcast.
Hey, well, I'm down to try anything.
Well, maybe we can do it after you guys, hopefully, I'm knocking on wood here, I want the world to know that, win the Supporters Shield this Wednesday, because you guys are going to be playing against Columbus. That's the game you said you were getting ready for. And of course, Columbus, if you know your MLS standings, are in second in the East. And if you're able to win this game, you could clinch the Supporters Shield, and you have a chance to still break the single season points record, even though you've drawn the last three matches. You, of course, have a ton of history with Columbus, which makes this season basically the Julian Gressel Revenge Tour challenge down to the wire. What's it going to be like going up and seeing all those old friends and trying to compete against them for something so big?
Yeah, I mean, it would be something. Was the last place where I celebrated MLS Cup, my last trophy, and now if we win, I would be able to lift the trophy just with the other team on that same field. So that would be something certainly different, but something I obviously hope for. I mean, we go there to try and win the game. We've not been at our best, I want to say. Columbus has been really, really good. And we certainly, go there to try and win the game and try and clinch that Supporter Shield. And we still, number one job is to clinch that Supporter Shield. That's still in our hands, even if we end up not winning the game on Wednesday, but we can still do it with the games afterwards. But at the same time, we want to make a statement. And I think a statement is going to Columbus and winning the game before the playoffs, showing everybody that this is our trophy and there's only one way to get it, and that's through us. And especially after the last three games, it's something that maybe that edge, maybe that kind of, that drive, that like willingness to really go and push above everything else was missing a little bit. And I hope that these three ties kind of give us that. And I've had it so many times when we won something, that you go through these spells, and especially the spells that aren't going so well right before the playoffs are one of the biggest moments where you can learn something. And we had it in Columbus last year, where we had a couple performances. I think we played in Atlanta during the playoffs, actually, in that best of 3 series, and we got completely, played off the field, and we didn't have a good game. We came back, we had big meetings, and we're all kind of like, this is the moment, guys, where we have to come together to figure this out. And hopefully these last 3 games have been the moment for us where we can come together and really push on, with now 3 games left, one huge game, obviously, in Columbus, that isn't the playoffs yet. So let's not make it bigger than what it actually is. Because the ultimate goal is MLS Cup and not the Supporters Shield. The Supporters Shield is nice to get, but if we don't get the Supporters Shield and win MLS Cup, nobody will care about it. So we need to be ready when the playoffs start, and something within those last 3 draws hopefully brings the best out of us in a way. And certainly a big road matchup, though. I'm excited for it. I'm hoping that again we can celebrate it and we can put that Supporters Shield victory behind us, but more so make a statement against a really, really good team in a really, really difficult environment to go and play.
No, is it almost going to be awkward? If you're dancing around on the field, are you going to have to mute your dancing a little bit or your celebration a little bit is a way to be respectful, like Declan Rice against Ireland, kind of, if you're able to win the game?
I don't know if I will be too crazy anyways, because again, I think MLS Cup is the big one and not the Supporters Shield. So yeah, I will be celebrating it, and I'll be celebrating it with my teammates to appropriate amount. But we have bigger things I think we want to achieve, and that's the Cup at the end of the year. And it'll feel a little bit weird, but at the same time, I'll also probably enjoy it a little bit. I hope none of the Columbus fans will take that against me. I've never won the Supporters Shield, so it's something that I would be extremely proud to get and to win. And
it's not buried under the pile of MLS Cups that you have in your office.
No, we'll add another one, which hopefully we can do Wednesday. That would be nice.
Perfect. The Columbus Crew did go to the White House last week, though, and I'm just curious as to how this works, because you were a part of the team that won MLS Cup last year. They went to the White House. Did you get an invite? I mean, how does that work? Because you were on the team that won.
Yeah, this is actually something where I'm going to be really speaking highly of that club and that organization, which I feel like I always am, because I've had a good time there. But so Isa Tall, the GM, he gave me a call, I want to say about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Or at first he texted me, he's like, hey, you have a second to call? And then I was like, yeah, sure. And then he called me and we spoke about that visit. He was like, hey, you were part of the club, part of this great achievement, and we want to invite you. It's the day before the game. We play in DC the next day, so it works out obviously really nicely for us. But you obviously have a game in Miami the next day, so I know that it's going to be tough for you, but you were part of it, so I wanted to extend the invite. If you can make it work, that you can come with us, which I thought was really, really nice of them to really invite me and to make me feel included and really be part of that celebration still of what we achieved last year, because it is something great that we achieved. And after thinking about it myself, and after talking to people at the club here in Miami, I decided that I don't think it was the right thing for me to do, to honestly even really ask and push for, just because of how close the playoffs are, where we were at. And I would have missed training probably the day before the game here against Charlotte, and I didn't really want to do that, just because hoping that we can go next year with Miami after we win it. So that would be nice, and again, but really, really awesome for them to invite me, and really cool I texted with Chris Ramirez, for example, friend of the pod.
Unless I'm hallucinating him being on the podcast. I want to make sure. I was waiting for you to confirm that.
Yeah, no, I texted with him and he was like, yeah, it was really nice. Really cool to see. They got all nice custom suits made for them. And they had all the guys that weren't on the team anymore this year, like guys that retired, for example, like Josh Williams, or some other guys that could make it, that were all there with the team. And that's something really cool that that they did, that they invited all the guys that were part of the roster last year. I unfortunately just couldn't make it, but Chris said it was a cool visit, and certainly enjoy it. Certainly enjoyed all of that experience.
Our producer, Michael, just pinged me with an excellent question that I'll relay on to you. Are they going to ship you a custom suit? Are you able to finagle that at least?
It has a big Columbus Crew logo on the side, so I don't know if I feel like I would get it, but then it would just be in the closet. I don't know if I can wear it ever. So
that'd be something you bring out after retirement, maybe, because I mean you did play for them at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with where things are, and I'm happy that I even got the invite. So no need for the suit.
That was very nice of them. I'll be honest. As a general manager, it's got to be hard to keep track of all of that stuff enough to remember to invite everybody, not in a bad way, but just I'm impressed that people are able to keep track of things to that extent.
Well, I think that speaks to kind of what organization they are and how family forward, how the coach thinks about these types of things, right? If Wilfred didn't want me there, then no chance they would have invited me. So it just shows kind of what type of organization they are in general, and how they try to do things in Columbus. And that's something, like I said, I'm really, really thankful for and appreciative of. And I think it's a really cool thing to be able to do that.
It is. And you know what else is really cool? It's going to be the worst transition in podcast history. Just say what?
What?
Goals. Christian Pulisic scored in his fifth straight. So bad. Christian Pulisic scored. Well, we have like a timeline set out for these podcasts, because we don't want to run too long. We're not trying to waste your time. We've spent a lot of time talking about the MLS stuff, and we wanted to talk about Pulisic. So that's how I thought of us getting into that. He scored in 5 straight games. That's enough to get invited to the White House, I think. No, but he actually, I've pulled up something a little fun. I pulled up 2 fun things. One, Lionel Zuma plays for the Central African Republic. I had to look that up. I have that. 2, Christian Pulisic is the only Serie A player with at least 20 goals and 10 assists across all competitions since the start of the 2023-24 season. As a fan and a fake manager myself, it just makes me so incredibly happy to watch him flourishing with both of his hamstrings still attached and finding success to me, this is the most successful an American has ever been at a big European club ever. It's kind of mind-blowing considering I used to be watching kids that were in the U18s like Julian Green, who's ended up having a very good career, and thinking, oh, maybe one day they could be like Christian Pulisic is now. But for you, as somebody that obviously plays the U.S. national team, what is the feeling when you see somebody like Christian Pulisic being able to do this? Or is this just what he's supposed to be doing? I don't know. Because he got chased out of Chelsea. They bought him for peanuts at Milan.
The feeling is, hell yeah. Keep going, dude. Sick. That's awesome. That's what you want. That's what you want your national team stars to be doing, and something finally, it seems like it's a good fit for him there. He seems healthy. Hopefully that can stay that way after now when the international games start, Champions League games start, like that type of stuff. It's a lot on the body having a lot of games. Obviously we know that, right? And so hopefully he can stay healthy, but it seems to be a great setup there for him. I'm really happy that he does these types of things, and that, maybe he can bring that to the national team with now a new coach, and he can kind of take that hot streak with him to continue that for the U.S. men's national team, where he would give that team a lot of energy by performing that way. And then that's something I feel like the U.S. really needs as well. So we're certainly I think it's all good, man, and keep doing your thing. It's not really something I expect. It's something that I'm really extremely happy about.
And I think it's also a beautiful example of this philosophy of sport that I have, or this thought process I've had about sport for a long time, which is there are very few players, the Lionel Messi's of the world, for example, that you can take and put on any team, and they'll be successful. Christian Pulisic, obviously, right, is not at that Messi level, right? Maybe
would be nice, but yes,
if we could have more than one Messi, that'd be great. But I think there are a lot of players out there that if they end up in the right situation, they can play really well. That's a belief that I've had. So if somebody was great in one place, maybe an Antony or something that goes to Manchester United, then all of a sudden they look terrible. It doesn't mean that player is terrible. It just means that what they're being asked to do doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And then if they can go somewhere else, they might be able to get that back. As somebody that has played, professionally on a good number of different teams, for some better than others, I'm sure you'd admit, like, is that true? You get into a certain system and you go, oh, okay, this is where I'm going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that you can probably grow into at times as well if you're a player that you can adapt. But at the same time, you do have players that thrive in environments immediately, right? And that's something, obviously in Europe, you don't really have much time. Like Christian Pulisic doesn't have a year and a half, 2 years to kind of develop into this different player for the system that the coach wants to play. No, he needs to be it now. For the type of money that goes there, that time is certainly limited. So I've experienced it a lot. Obviously in MLS, you get a lot of young players coming from South America, right? And a lot of guys that come into your locker room that, have done really well in South America, now come here. They're all of a sudden out of their comfort zone, away from family, all on their own. Not necessarily stuff on the field, but even stuff off the field. Like that type of stuff plays so much of a role where it's so difficult to adapt at times. And then I've seen it so many times where they just can't live up to their height or their potential on the field when they are in new situations like that. So it's definitely a valid point that you're making of how, players need different environments to really thrive in, and that you can't just plug in and play everybody, and that there's a process to everything. Like I always say that when I switch teams, that I can't be the Julian Gressel that was the Julian Gressel from Atlanta United in 2018 that had 15 assists on my first day in an Inter Miami uniform. That's not how it works. It's something, there's somewhat of a process, and every team is different too. So there is nuances that change and all that type of stuff. So it's just really, really, tough moments at times you go through. But at the same time, you can adapt and you can develop into it. It's just about, having the time to being able to do that.
And he clearly is found that position. I think even through a change of coach as well, he's just absolutely off to a flyer, and hopefully he's doing his yoga and sleeping in his cryogenic chambers so he's able to stay healthy.
And hopefully Pochettino can get that out of him at the national team as well, right? Like, and not just him, but more guys. So like that's the thought now of this window coming up. We have one more weekend, and then it's first international break. Certainly excited to see the roster and all those types of things, but you really hope that that's the hire that gets the most out of guys, and that's what you want. If you have guys playing up to their standard, up to their talent level that they're at, then I think we'll be in a good shape.
Well, I think if you draw a line, maybe Son Heung-min is a player that I would say is fairly similar to Christian Pulisic, and that is also a player that Mauricio Pochettino is able to use incredibly well for a lot of his managerial career at Tottenham. So hopefully, maybe I'm just grasping at straws here, but hopefully there's already an archetype that he can plug Christian in and get goals out of him all over the place. Speaking of great managers, Jose Mourinho is up to his usual tricks today. This is something that we added to what we wanted to talk about right when we sat down today, because if you did not see this, I'm sure if you're watching on YouTube or if you catch this in a clip on Instagram or whatever, it'll be pulled up for you. Jose Mourinho, who's managing in Turkey, he's at Fenerbahce. He had a call go against him in a match where his team was winning 1-0. Okay. This call was an offside decision. That's apparently what initially set him off. Then there was a foul decision that he didn't like. So he pulls up the foul on his laptop, sets it down in front of the TV camera between the benches. And the cameraman, to his credit, the cameraman who's gotten no credit in this story, tilts the camera down and zooms in on the laptop. And then they cut back to Jose Mourinho just sitting on the bench looking like, he honestly, the way I worded it on stream earlier is like he looked like the dog that's taken a dump in the other room, but you haven't found it yet. So he was just acting like super sheepish. And the ref, of course, comes over and books him. But, as far as I can tell in the rules of the game, it's not illegal to show the TV camera a still image of a potential call in the game. But no, this is just brilliant trolling. And obviously Mourinho is so unbelievably entertaining. But as a player, if you see your manager doing this, what are you thinking? I mean, the match is still 1-0 at this point.
Well, I think at this point, everybody has a little bit of a delayed live feed of the game from a tactical view on the bench. Like that's allowed now.
Right.
Where,
Okay. So that's what you're saying. That's where he got this from?
Probably. I'm guessing so that's where he got it. He got it straight from, usually there's a video guy sitting up top in the stands that kind of sends stuff down. And usually it's the live game feed, just like 10 seconds delayed. So you can immediately go back and look at certain things as a coaching staff. And I guess he just saw it there, pulled it up and was like, hey, look at this. Like, look at the VAR. Look at this. This is a clear foul. And it was just, it was funny. Typical Jose Mourinho. So natural and so uniquely himself. And that's something that I just appreciate and love about that.
He is very genuine. And I feel like we live in a world where a lot of people's genuine characters are very well hidden behind PR teams and, very, well chosen and crafted answers and like repeated tropes. And then you have Cole Palmer who's doing interviews and just says what every 5 seconds, right? You aren't really getting to know the people. And then Jose Mourinho's walking around going, I think the ref was wrong. I've got this live feed apparently that they have on the bench and I will show you that this was not a foul or whatever. And and apparently it inspired his team because they scored another goal and they won 2-0. They scored another goal after he brought out the laptop and picked up a yellow card. But
it wouldn't be Jose Mourinho if it didn't somehow work. I feel like he's been great at doing that, and then just kind of like just getting that little extra bit out of your team with some unconventional method. And I guess that was one of them.
There's certain people, I think, and these are usually the best coaches, that they just have a gift for knowing how to push the right button at the right time and knowing when to. Because the tactics are all great, and everybody loves Pep Guardiola, and everybody wants to be Pep Guardiola, including Pep Guardiola with hair, Mikel Arteta, and everybody else that tries to go down that route. But there's a certain element, like Sir Alex Ferguson was great at tactics. I'm not going to say that he wasn't, but tactics weren't the reason that Manchester United won whatever it was, 64 Premier League titles. They won it because, for whatever reason, in the same way Jose Mourinho pulling out the laptop somehow got his team another goal, Sir Alex Ferguson just knew how to manage a group of people, which is way harder than it always seems to, as I'm sure you're always aware in your profession.
No, absolutely. It's something special, and that's why he's called the special one, right? It's cool. It's good to see that type of stuff. And tactics is all good, but it's really about getting that last bit out of guys. And some players can do that, some coaches can do that, but if you have a coach that knows has a really good feel for the player and feel for the group of what they need at the right time, that's usually the coach. I talk about a Jurgen Klopp, right? Like, not necessarily groundbreaking tactics, but he can get every last bit out of a player, and that's why they're so successful.
And me in Football Manager, obviously.
Yes, that's not even need to mention that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was the given. No, I understand. It's fine. But good on Jose Mourinho. Hopefully he can bring Fenerbahce their first title in a decade, because they actually, I don't know if you know this, but this is the sort of head in the sand nonsense that I know. They got 100 points in a 38 match season last year.
Wow.
and didn't win the league.
Oh my.
Yeah. So they had a heartbreaker last year. And so Jose Mourinho is in there trying to save them. But with all that done, we have another important piece of news for you. Julian has another piece of priceless memorabilia on the docket. He's going to give away to one lucky fan of this podcast a match ball signed by the entire Inter Miami team. Where do I sign up for this? That's
a good one, isn't it?
Hello. Signed by the entire Inter Miami team, a match ball. Details on that giveaway going in the next episode. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Of course, subscribe on anywhere where you listen to your podcasts and rate and everything. And do you have anything to say to the good people of this burgeoning, awesome community?
Just thank you for tuning in every week and listening, watching, wherever you may be watching or listening. It's been really fun, and I'm excited to give another thing away, and we'll just keep the giveaways coming until the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I can't. We're going to be giving away my bathwater. That's the final. That's the season finale giveaway. So make sure you're subscribed for that as well. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.